So, what on earth does an apple orchard have to do with building the metaverse? Turns out a whole lot more than you'd think. Today, we're going to follow a really simple idea from a farm all the way to a big tech boardroom. And we'll see how two simple accounting terms can, and I mean this, literally reshape our world. Let's jump in.
You know, this quote really nails it. The way things grow and thrive in nature gives us the perfect model for understanding something as complex as the economics of software. It all starts with something growing from the ground up.
Okay, so just picture an orchard for a second. To get it going, you've really got two totally different kinds of work. First, there's the big foundational stuff, buying the land, digging the holes, planting the saplings. It's a massive, one-time investment that you hope pays off for years. But then, you've got the ongoing effort, the watering, the fertilizing, the harvesting, season after season. Those are the recurring costs that actually keep the orchard alive and producing apples. And believe it or not, this simple distinction is the key to everything we're about to talk about.
All right, so let's take that orchard logic and just drop it right into the digital world. This brings us to two of the most important ideas in business, period. Capital expenditures, or CapEx, and operational expenditures, or OpEx. And trust me, getting this isn't just for accountants, it's at the very heart of business strategy.
So what is CapEx? Well, think of it as the money you spend to buy or build something big, something long-lasting that's going to create value for years to come. It is that foundational investment. In our orchard, this is literally buying the land and planting the trees.
And OpEx, that's the other side of the coin. It's all the money you spend on the day-to-day stuff, just to keep the lights on and keep the business running. It's that recurring expense. For the orchard, this is paying for water, buying fertilizer, and paying the gardeners who are out there every single day.
And here is where the metaphor just maps perfectly onto the software world. Your CapEx, that's your planting, right? This is the huge investment in building a new platform, or maybe capitalizing your developers' salaries to create a major new asset. But your OpEx, the tending, that's all the recurring stuff that keeps you in business. Your monthly AWS bill, your subscriptions to Slack and Figma, even the little fees you pay to Stripe every time a customer buys something.
So, we've got the definitions down. Big deal, right? Well, this is where it gets really strategic. The choice between spending on CapEx or OpEx isn't just an accounting decision. It shapes a company's entire strategy. It's a constant, high-stakes trade-off.
So it all boils down to this one simple question. This is what CEOs and CTOs have to ask all the time, especially when they think about their engineering teams. Is the work our developers are doing creating a brand new long-term asset? If so, that salary cost can actually be capitalized and turned into CapEx. But if it's just fixing bugs and maintenance, well, that's just OpEx.
And that one decision leads you down two very different roads. You can go with an OpEx-heavy model, right? Use cloud services, rent all your software. This makes you super agile. You can pivot and experiment really fast. The downside, you're basically building your business on rented land. Or you can go CapEx-heavy. You invest a ton up front to build your own unique proprietary platform. This gives you a powerful competitive moat that's hard for anyone to copy. But it also locks you in. Pivoting becomes incredibly expensive.
But here's where it gets tricky. There's a hidden danger. When you always choose the easy, low-cost OpEx path, you start building up a kind of debt, a debt that doesn't show up on any financial report.
And that hidden liability has a name. It's called technical debt. It's the future cost of all the rework you're going to have to do because you chose the quick and dirty fix today, the low OpEx choice, instead of investing the time and money to build it the right way, which would have been a CapEx investment. And this debt, it charges interest in the form of slower development and more bugs down the road.
Okay, so now let's zoom out, because no company, no orchard exists in a bubble. All these internal decisions about CapEx and OpEx are really just a response to the much bigger economic climate. A good leader can't just be an architect, they also have to be a meteorologist, constantly reading the economic weather.
And man, just look at how much the weather has changed. Think back to the 2010s, the rainy season. Money was cheap, capital was everywhere, and the strategy was simple: growth at all costs. That meant huge CapEx bets. But then, as soon as interest rates shot up, we entered a drought. Suddenly capital was expensive, and the strategy flipped on a dime to OpEx control and the so-called year of efficiency.
And if you want the ultimate example of a rainy season strategy, look no further than Meta. They were absolutely swimming in cheap capital for years, and they used it to make one of the biggest, boldest CapEx bets in corporate history, building the metaverse.
The sheer scale of this is just hard to wrap your head around. We are talking about a projected CapEx of over $100 billion. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire GDP of quite a few countries.
This wasn't just launching a new product. This was a full-blown attempt to build an entirely new digital frontier, and it was all bankrolled by an era of easy money. But now, a totally new weather system is moving in, a climate shift that is once again rewriting all the rules of the game: artificial intelligence.
And AI creates this fascinating new dynamic. First, you have the absolutely monumental CapEx required to train a foundational model. Think Microsoft throwing over $10 billion at OpenAI. That's the new planting. But then you have the recurring OpEx of actually using that model in the product. So every time a user on Duolingo or Shopify interacts with AI, those companies are paying an API fee. That's the new tending.
And this is where our journey from the simple orchard reaches its final and honestly most profound destination. Because when your CapEx bets are in the tens of billions of dollars, like they are with AI, you're not just doing business strategy anymore. At this scale, allocating capital becomes an act of social engineering. These companies aren't just playing in our world, they're actively terraforming. And this is because, at this incredible scale, the balance sheet has truly become a blueprint for a new world. The decisions made in a handful of boardrooms are now fundamentally restructuring the very landscape of human society. Think about it. Historically, CapEx was about serving a market that already existed. You'd build a factory to make cars for people who already lived in cities. But the goal of hyperscale CapEx today is completely different. It's reality creation. When a company spends $100 billion on the metaverse, they are trying to literally will an entirely new plane of existence into being.
And just like taking shortcuts in code leads to technical debt, taking shortcuts with society, well, that leads to something way more serious: societal debt. This is the pile of negative consequences that comes from making decisions purely for financial gain. It's a hidden liability, and the cost gets passed on to every single one of us.
And this debt is terrifyingly real. The massive CapEx put into engagement-driven algorithms has a clear societal cost, like the decline in teen mental health. The OpEx-driven choice to automate content moderation leads to a cost like the erosion of democratic consensus. The new AI CapEx race is going to create massive societal debt in the form of labor displacement. These are the real-world costs that you will never, ever see on a balance sheet.
So our journey from that humble orchard is complete, and it shows us that at this massive scale, the role of a leader has to evolve. It's not enough to be a strategist anymore, or even a meteorologist. The final responsibility is to be an ethicist.
Because when the power to allocate capital becomes the power to terraform our society, the line items on a balance sheet are no longer just numbers, they're moral statements. And it leaves all of us with one final and really crucial question to ponder. What is the true cost of innovation?